All right.
And away we go. We're 10 seconds in.
And I'm sorry, I was getting things ready. And away we go. It is the aftermath. False start on delay a game on the host. 5-yard penalty. Replay the open of the show. Welcome in. It is the aftermath. Brought to you by Mio's Pizza. Live from the Cincy Light Studios, right here on BearcatJournal.com. Go visit our good friends at Mio's anytime you are uptown in the Clifton area. Maybe you're on campus for a basketball game, crosstown shootout, whatever it may be. Go see our good friends at Mio's. Great pizza, great apps, awesome steak hoagies, you name it. Mio's will get you taken care of. And of course, while you're there, make sure to get you an ice cold Cincy Light on tap from our good friends at Mio's Pizza in Clifton. Well, Aaron, we were all kind of afraid of this.
Yeah.
And it happened. Cincinnati falls 34-17. It was a 20-17 game with 4 minutes or so to go. And Iowa State rips off 14 points in the final 4 minutes to make it a little bit of a deceptive score. But the end of the day, Cincinnati did not play well enough to win in all phases of the game. Some phases were excellent, but the defense for the most part was until the very end was outstanding tonight. Gave the offense every opportunity to take control of this game. They were never able to do it.
You could say they fumbled the opportunities away.
Only one, but it was a big one. It was a very big one. Just, again, not good enough. Not good enough from the Cincinnati Bearcats in a league where every game comes down to the final 5 minutes. Pretty much, Cincinnati could not get the job done. Special teams, another disaster of a night, just unmitigated disaster of a night. The funny thing was, against West Virginia, they really, like, the special teams was bad, but they overcame most of it. You know, it all rested almost exclusively on the turnovers. Tonight, the special teams was bad, and they could not overcome it. Again, they get dominated in field position all night. Take it away, Aaron. I have not, I told you this before the show. I have not had a glass of bourbon since August. I know that because a good friend sent me a bottle of Weller back in August. And there is still 3/4 of that bottle. Well, there was 3/4 of that bottle sitting on the bourbon, sitting in the bourbon area that none of it had been touched. And tonight I got home and I decided I'm having a glass of bourbon. That's what that game did to me. That's what watching that game did to me.
Yeah, I had not drank anything.
Take it away.
I hadn't drank anything tonight, but I thought I'd join you.
I had not either until 3 minutes ago, and you got to see my face when I took that first sip of bourbon, and it looked like a face that had not drank bourbon in months.
That's correct. Tonight, sure, they focused on the run. 39 rushes, 287 yards. Brendan Sorsby came into the game, I think they said 192 yards. At one point, they called him Vanilla Vic. I thought that was hilarious. But 14 carries, 141 yards, and a touchdown for Sorsby. He did have the fumble. They finally unleashed Corey Kiner, 18 yards for 120, and truthfully, I didn't think it was enough. I don't know what to make of this. The passing game was abysmal. I know Iowa State has a good pass defense, but 11-19 for 66 yards is
66 yards.
I don't know that Emory Jones had this bad of a game passing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give him credit. Like, if it wasn't there, he generally made the right play today. A lot of it weren't good, taking off and running, but
you could say even on the pass plays, he made the right reads. He just couldn't get the ball to the receiver. Xavier Henderson, if he wanted to fight Brendan Sorsby after this game, I wouldn't blame him. Evan Pryor had a touchdown that Sorsby missed terribly.
I mean, by 10 yards. Like, all he has to do is throw it up the seam.
Just touch. Just a little touch. Just float it over the defenders. He even had room to adjust if need be. And he just missed him. Completely disastrous. It was terrible. It was terrible. The special teams mess that has been it got worse tonight than it has been, because it wasn't it was bad punting, it was bad snapping, it was bad coverage, it was not recognizing the fake that led to another score. It was you I don't, outside of the defense playing their hearts out, I don't know what else you can do.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a lot to say. Tony, don't be ashamed. It's okay. It's a rough patch. There are rough patches. It works itself out over time. I know that's not what you want to hear right now, but it does. I promise. Bram, Iowa State hit the wide open TD on the fake QB power, and Cincinnati missed it. That was a huge difference in the game. It was a huge difference in the game. There were multiple huge differences in the game, but that definitely was amongst them. I never said Sorsby is average. I said he's young, and with a young quarterback, you are going to have stretches, unfortunately, like we've seen, as he learns and grows. I think, against a defense like this, Aaron, here's the problem where a week like last week compounds itself, right? Because last week he made the critical mistakes that cost them the game. You know what he wasn't going to do today, Aaron?
Make a bad passing mistake because he didn't throw the ball.
He wasn't, like, he was reading it. It wasn't there. He was out. Or he was throwing it away. Like, he was doing whatever is in the quarterback handbook.
I had flashbacks
on how not to make like a catastrophic mistake. But that's where the mistakes that you made last week roll over into this week, because it's front of mind, right? It's what's been talked about all week. Sorsby can't make mistakes like that. So, they can't. Yeah. The team is in a position that, they can't have the catastrophic error.
I don't know what you could hear where you were watching the game, but the commentators even said at one point, you wanted him to take off the cape and essentially stop playing hero ball. But there were several times tonight where he needed to put the cape on, like when Xavier Henderson is running down the field wide open.
Well, it came off of them. Like, that stuff. Here's what I will say on some of that stuff, Aaron. It is easy from the couch to make that assessment. But there's also a point where that play was covered, and then Sorsby moves his eyes. The DB comes off of Henderson, which is what leaves Henderson wide open. The mistake is he didn't get back to him or see that the corner came off. Like, oh, well, there's an extra guy in coverage that wasn't there 3 seconds ago. Why might that be? But by the time you're processing it, the plays happen fast. It's very easy to sit and look and say, oh, well, I had the advantage of isolated replay. I guess I know what you're saying. I'm saying stuff like that doesn't bother me a ton, because we don't have the advantage of where his eyes were. Like, a lot of times you'll see that the quarterback's head is this way, and they're like, oh my God, this guy over here is wide open. Well, his head never got over there. Is that on the quarterback? Yeah, you can blame that on the quarterback, but he doesn't have a 6,000 gigabyte RAM in his head that is like, oh, I caught it. The one to Pryor, that is right in front of you. You have to make that throw. You have to get that ball out to him. Like, they drew it up. It worked perfectly. They got Pryor again behind the defense for one of those plays that we have seen him make all year. Could have been catch and run, outrun everybody. Could have been a massive momentum shifter. I'm just saying, I look more at that and say that's the type of mistake that there's no excuse for. There's no explaining it away, because he threw it to the sideline. Wide to the sideline instead of up the seam. Just
missed.
Touch pass, lead him up the seam.
It's like laces out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he cost the team 7 points there and another 3 with the fumble inside the 20. The fumble, the guy made a great play. He came in, did a great job punching the ball out. But you can't let that happen in that situation. You're in scoring position in a game that you're trying to ebb and flow your way back into advantageous position. You've got to get down. You just can't fumble the ball there. Do I give Licky a shot? No, I don't think so. Sorsby's your guy going forward. You got to let him ride this out and learn what he can learn along the way.
Also, as we're looking at numbers, 13 penalties, 87 yards, of course, just capped off towards the end by the face face mask that looked like it was on Iowa State, not on Cincinnati. Looked like it was on the defensive lineman orange.
No, brother, you know what happened there? He was furious because Luke Kandra didn't move. The announcer said it was fake calls. What happened was somebody from Iowa State just pointed at him and said he moved, and the ref threw the flag. They went back on replay. Luke Kandra didn't flinch a goddamn inch. So Sorsby was furious that essentially Iowa State called that penalty. Luke Kandra did not move an inch. They went back and isolated him on replay, and he was like this the entire time. That's why Sorsby was mad there.
That was maybe the only time Cincinnati didn't false start.
Yes, the rest of the time they false started. I don't know did anybody here listen to the radio post-game coaches interview? Because I heard Nick Cardwell's voice in the background, and he was not in a good mood. I'll just leave it at that. Not in a good mood.
Also wanted to point out, third downs, you're 3 of 11. That's atrocious. And you gave up 7 of 16. Some of those, especially late in the game when the defense is gassed.
They were great on third down until the end of the game. Great.
They're gassed. They were out there a lot. And I think that was on just after that 8-minute drive, or maybe that was part of the 8-minute drive. But you're giving up third and longs. That was tough. I don't know.
We got a couple people that heard what I heard driving home in the post-game Scott Satterfield interview. It was louder than Scott Satterfield. Yeah, Sean, 15. Wow. 15 passing yards in the last 3 quarters. 4 wide receiver receptions the entire game. I want to say this. As Iowa State was controlling the end of the game,
it was more than 15 passing yards in the last 3 quarters, because I got the stats in front of me. It was 7 in the second quarter, 18 in the third quarter.
25.
That's it. So it was 25.
25. Sean, he forgot to carry the 1. There
were none in the fourth quarter.
He forgot to carry the 1.
It's still gross. Gross. We're not an armed forces school.
So,
Oh,
and maybe there was a sack. Was there a sack in there in the second? No, they didn't have any sacks.
Maybe that's why there's 2 dashes, actually. Is it -7 pass yards in the second? If so, then that's actually only 11 pass yards. I don't know. It's
whatever it is.
Whatever.
Bad. Not good. Not good, Bob. Not great, Bob.
Yeah, no, that would make sense because you had 55 in the first quarter, -7 in the second, 18 in the third, 66 total. So there's your 66. Correct.
Yeah,
-7.
But Neil, there were no sacks. That's what makes this even more crazy. There were no sacks. They did not sack Brendan Sorsby.
11 total pass yards in the last 3 quarters. 11.
So Cincinnati, the end of the game, when Iowa State was able to convert their bevy of third and longs, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 6. Cincinnati's in a drop coverage. They're in zone. And Iowa State's play design was impeccable. Impeccable. Run this guy like a guy in the slot on the boundary side, runs a little out, takes the zone with him a couple steps. They run a guy in from the slot on the field side, back behind where that guy just vacated, first down. Like over and over again, if you watch, they were showing like kind of the chess match that Iowa State was using when Cincinnati was in that drop zone on 3rd and long. And they were just schooling Cincinnati's defense on how to run zone passing offense. Lift, replace, move the zone, run a guy into the open spot, have him sit down, catch the pass. Over and over and over again. Like it was clinical. Cincinnati, on the other hand, we're covered. Got it. Everybody's covered. That's play design. Like that's there. It's the same defense. It's the same defense.
Yeah.
So if they're doing it to you, you should be able to do it in some way, shape, or form to them. And it never happened. There was never a guy, a Cincinnati wide receiver, the entire second half. There was never a guy sitting down in the zone, waiting open for the ball to come to him. You're telling Iowa State perfectly covered every guy the entire second half?
Well, when you only throw it 7 times.
Well, but a lot of that, Aaron, some of it was dropping back to pass and then Sorsby running because he didn't throw the ball on a passing play.
Fair enough.
So there was more than 7 dropbacks is what I'm getting at. They only threw it 7 times because they weren't designing anything that worked to get open. Not once. Tony Johnson, Jamoy Mays is on a milk carton. I think he's been on the milk carton so long that the milk in the carton has gone bad. Yeah. I advanced the milk carton thing. I took it. I took it when he's been on the milk carton so long, the milk's gone bad. 2 thumbs to 4 thumbs down. The milk's gone bad. It's for you Chappelle Show viewers.
On top of that, you targeted Joe Royer 3 times. You targeted Xavier Henderson 4 times. And of those 7 targets, you managed 3 catches for 20 yards. That's dreadful. For your 2 top playmakers at the position.
You have 3 playmakers on offense. Kiner, Henderson, Royer. And Evan Pryor, but like I'm talking about like high volume, like guys you are counting on, well, what should be high volume, guys you are counting on to be your playmakers offensively. They could not scheme Joe Royer and Xavier Henderson open the entire night. Well, there was one They run a little sprint out to the left, like a quick sprint out to the left. Henderson is wide open. There's a guy 8 yards off of him. If Sorsby puts it on target, Henderson's got a chance to catch, turn, and make a play. He threw it 4 yards in front of him and to the left, to where he couldn't even dive to get back under it.
Well, you also had a chance with, if he places the ball better on the one pass to Joe Royer on the little tight end screen. Instead, he puts it in place where Joe Royer turns around and he runs into the guy engaging the tackler, the only tackler out there.
Yeah. I'll give the guy credit. He did blow up John Williams.
Sure.
But if he goes inside the screen, if the ball puts him in position to go inside the screen, he has got, I think it was Tinsley, 8 yards downfield with one guy to block, Tinsley on one guy, and Royer is just running to the end zone. They had a couple. They had a play to their tight end who looked like he had concrete blocks on his feet, and he ran for 35 yards. It comes back to, though, the Rocco-backed jump, one-handed tip, knocks it to himself, runs it in for a touchdown. What have I been talking about in these losses, Aaron? The winning team makes the play, makes a play, does something. What happens if that snap goes over, Sorsby tips it up, it goes behind him 2 yards, he has to turn around, he falls on it, and now it's like 3rd and 18 or 3rd and 24. Instead, Beck tips it completely over his head, the worst snap you'll see, manages to tip it up to himself. The defense reacts to a bad snap. A hole opens up right in the middle. He runs through it, and a 3-point game is a 10-point game. Bing, bang. The winning team makes the play. There were 2 fumbles late in the fourth quarter that Cincinnati didn't get? Yeah. I know there was one on the touchdown drive. The ball's just bouncing around in the open field, and there's nobody there to pick it up. Iowa State just falls on it. It
says there was only one. Each team only had one fumble, and each team lost that one fumble. I don't know I don't feel like that's accurate. That's what the stats say. In any case.
Or the fumble that was not called a fumble if a UC player grabs it and runs it. That's just the muff punt. There's
if you were down there in coverage, you're on the muff punt.
Sad said teams are simulating Sorsby slap by slapping DTs on the ass. Good for them. If your offensive line is fooled by that, good for them.
Or if that's the case, change your cadence.
Right?
Or change, go silent. Just go silent.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's ways to adjust. You don't have to clap. I promise. You don't. There are teams that don't clap.
How about covering the tight end or slot receiver on consecutive third, setting up a short run for first down? Craig, we just talked about that. That is, they're in a zone. So that's that. The zone has to identify and locate what's happening. They did a poor job, and I thought Iowa State schemed up. They got exactly what they wanted on every one of those plays. What they wanted on every one of those plays.
I do want to talk about how I knew that this game was going to go south very, very quickly. Is how they finished the first half again. Just, you give up points. You just completely shit the bed at the end of the first half. You give up the points and you go in just wondering what just happened as you're in the locker room at halftime. Again.
18-yard punt.
You did it again, just wondering what just happened at halftime. And that's I'm telling you, I knew that they were not going to win at that moment.
I said it.
You can't do this every single week. Every week you play, you can't do it.
I said to my cousin, as they were getting, the punt team was coming out, I said they will be lucky to hold them to 3. Lucky to hold them to 3. 38, 48 seconds, whatever it was. Like, they are going to get points.
There you go. Fifth time this year, they gave up points to end the half. Then gave up points to start the second half.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It just comes down to, look, we are having a different conversation than a year ago, because the conversation a year ago was this team is not talented enough to win these games. The other team is significantly more talented than Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's not going to win many games against teams that are significantly more talented. Like, yeah, you might win games where the talent level, like this team's got this much more, and you're pretty close, but you're not quite there, and you catch some breaks and you win the game. This year, really the only time I have felt they weren't as good as the other team in terms of just across the board talent was Colorado. That's the only time I really felt this team is not as good as that team.
I agree.
And is some of that because they have Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter? Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. But they have Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. And Colorado was the better team. And that's playing itself out now, because I think Colorado is going to cruise to a Big 12 championship. Cruise to a Big 12 championship.
We'll see what BYU has to say about that. But
they're going to beat BYU.
That's a conversation for a different day.
What is happening now is they are on the same level as every team that they've played. But too many times, they are making or not making the play. They are either turning it over. Their special teams are giving up massive chunks of hidden yardage. They're false starts. So it felt like it was early downs every time that those things happen. Now, I will credit the offense because they responded to a bunch of those and got first downs in spite of being set back 5 yards. But again, if you don't make the 5-yard mistake, maybe you're 5 yards farther down the field. Maybe you get into field goal range. Maybe you break one for a touchdown.
You're already starting. This has been a thing that we talked about last week, so I looked again today. Just curious. Cincinnati started on their own 26 average start position. Iowa State started at their own 36. So every time you're starting with the ball, you have to go a whole extra first down than the other team.
Yeah. Neil, I think this is a good point. Here's what I think they know. I think they know their back end is not good enough to hold up if the blitz doesn't get home. I think they know that. Now, would I like to see them be more aggressive in spots, like pick their spots, like the Jared Bartlett blitz that got a sack? Yes, I would like them to be selectively more aggressive. What I don't want is what I don't think they're good enough for.
Pick your spot.
Is just constant blitzing, like constantly bringing 4, 5, 6. But it's got to be more than almost never. It's got to be more than, oh, hey, screw it. Let's throw a fourth rusher out there. Screw it. How about we try to blitz? Like, it has to be more than that. And I know some of it is they don't have natural pass rushing linemen. Like, it's just, if you want to see what the idea was, watch George Gums at Florida that was committed here out of the portal and then went to Florida. He is Maje. He is that guy that is constantly in the quarterback's face. They found their guy. They got their guy to commit. He went somewhere else. And then the other guy that they found shreds his Achilles before we even get to higher ground. So some of that, Neil, like, I agree. Jared Bartlett's really good at getting after the quarterback. And Jake Golday has also shown he can get after the quarterback. But I think they're so worried about their pass defense, their coverage, that they're not comfortable doing it. I would like to see it selectively done more. Like, once a drive, today's
Neil,
Wordle was Pfizer.
so Neil, I'll raise you here. Today's Wordle was Visor. He thought maybe that was going to be a good sign. Sure. I'm like 98% certain I saw James Smith today at Costco in Columbus, completely randomly.
I think he lives in Columbus.
I am 98% certain it was James Smith at Costco in Columbus. I thought that was a good sign. It was not.
D. Smith with Dante, it's really hard to win on the edges without being creative. You know why they won on the edge on the Bartlett sack? Because Dante took the center, drove him back into the quarterback, and then Bartlett came off of the left side and was right there as Rocco Beck tried to get away from Dante pushing his guy into him. Stuff like that. We did see a creative delayed blitz. I think it was Jonathan Thompson later in the game where they just kind of hesitated. It was a play action. As soon as Beck pulled the ball and it was a pass, Thompson came up on the right side and forced an incompletion.
Thompson gets that interception.
Yeah.
That was just another situation, though, where you have to create your own luck, and it was not to be.
I don't agree. Like, you can't, like, you have a rotation for a reason. Like, if something happens when one of those guys is on the field, you're always going to say, that's the beauty of a fan and having hindsight. Oh, well, I didn't like that on such and such play, so-and-so was on the field after the play works, right? Like, that's the advantage of watching on TV and you know, not – if you put those guys out there for too many downs and they're tired and they get beat, you're probably not going to complain about it because you don't know the reason they got beat was that they weren't able to get any rest because nobody else can rotate in for them. So I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they feel that they pulled the reins back on Sorsby. I
have a question to build on this.
Go ahead.
Because do you think his thumbs are a problem? And I only say that because we are not throwing the deep ball. We are not throwing the deep ball. We have refused to throw any type of deep ball. Obviously, they run the zone, but you're now in, the fourth or fifth game in a row where you've just refused to throw a deep ball. And I'm just wondering, when you condense the field to only 15 yards that you're going to do anything, it creates problems. And you're not even giving an opportunity at this point. You just outright refuse.
Agree. I don't think it's his thumb. Like, I don't see issues with him velocity on the ball. I don't see issues with him
it's not been accurate.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a throwing, like a mechanics thing.
So it's merely mental.
I don't think he's incredibly accurate yet in his career. Okay. I think he still has what did we talk about at the beginning of the year, Aaron? He has these stretches where he goes unconscious and he's just sees everything, throws everything. We haven't seen many of those lately, but he also has the reason that stands out is because he has stretches where he is inaccurate, where he's not seeing the field like he does when he's locked in, when he's dialed in. So no, I don't think it's the thumb, and I think I know he said he had a little bit of an issue with his throwing. The bigger thumb issue was his left hand. He never, I think his right thumb was sore, but I don't think it was like, I think his left thumb at one point was injured.
Okay.
I don't think his throwing hand thumb has been a major issue. And I thought the screen game was pretty good tonight outside of like Sorsby not at times putting the ball in the right place. Like, I think they were blocked up and designed correctly most of the time. I just don't think they were delivered correctly.
I don't know what Chinatown means, but
Tony, take a deep breath, buddy. Okay? Just, is there a dispensary near you?
I agree with Ryan here. I don't understand why we do not allow Corey Kiner to run the ball 20 plus times in any games.
He did it, I think Colorado. It's either Colorado or last week. He ran it 25 times, and that was his career high for rushes in a game.
That's
Mike Warren
crazy talk.
Scoffs in your general direction.
Crazy talk.
Where are
there were certainly moments in the
total
game
plays? One of the reasons that Kiner didn't have more rushes, I would presume, is that they only ran 58 plays, Aaron. Now, would I have preferred 22, 23 of those plays been Corey Kiner rushes? Yes. I mean, he had 18 carries for 120 yards, 6.7 yards per carry. Pryor had 6 for 31, 5.2.
I know
Gary
that
Jackson Jr. touched the ball.
First offensive play of the game, I believe.
Oh, that right. You're right. Yeah. I forgot that was him. I just was ready to throw a chair at the Holy Grail that was the first play of the game. I didn't pay any attention to who it was. But almost 8 yards a carry.
I know we beat the drum last week for Evan Pryor to get more touches, but I don't want him getting 7 touches to mean that Corey Kiner is not getting 20 plus.
That's what I warned you about. I warned you about that on Monday. If you take carries, if you give extra carries to Pryor, you are taking them away from Kiner. No, thank you. No, thank you. Just come out in the wing tee next week. Well, I don't know. Kansas State was like they were on. So UC was on the big TV. Kansas State was over here. You've been on the Kansas State stinks train all year. They got Arizona State smoked them, and I'll tell you what. This is a really good thing that Cincinnati got Arizona State's backup quarterback.
Telling you.
I'm just saying. Nobody can read my lips when I do this, right? It was a really good thing Cincinnati got Jeff Sims instead of Levitt. Look, Jeff, the QB ran too much. Well, the QB ran 14 times for 141 yards and a touchdown. Look, here's kind of my philosophy on all this stuff on the content side of things, Jeff. I want to complain about things, but I don't want to complain about things like a guy rushing 10 times for 141 yards and a touchdown. You gotta, like, if you're gonna bitch, make sure you bitch about the stuff that wasn't good. Like, bitching about the stuff that's good, then we're just like every other show that's out there that, you know, throws a fit. They ran the QB 10 times. He had 141 yards. That's silly.
Probably getting caught up in the fumble, but
Tony. Woosa. D. Smith, I'd like to pair it with 150 yards passing too. I didn't have the benefit of the stats in front of me during the game. I sat down, I clicked into the room with Aaron, I pulled up the stats, and the first thing I said to him was 66 yards?
Yeah.
The fuck are we doing? 66 yards passing? Tony makes me seem sane. That's why he's here, Neil. We're working on your sanity. Like, it's therapy, right? Therapy. One of the good things about therapy is being in a therapy group with someone that's way more fucked up than you are, and you're like, oh, I'm not that bad. I still love you, Tony. 66 yards passing is wild. Wild.
I don't
ever want to let go.
I don't ever want to see another game where they have under 100 yards passing.
Ever again. Ever. My buddy, come on now. Like, that's not. Don't be silly, M. I like Carey. I think Carey's a good dude. I have enjoyed being around him for a long time. It's not working on special teams. Now, I think the corners, have been better. I think, yes, they haven't been perfect, but I think they've been better. I do not think they have been like a weakness this season. Special teams the past 2 weeks, like, you got to start having some conversations, because you're getting like the hidden yardage that is special teams, because that's generally what special teams is all about, is winning field position. Having better special teams than the opponent means that you win field position, which means on a day that your defense for large chunks of the game was really good, large chunks of the game, that defense played really, really well. Were there some flaws towards the end? Yes, absolutely. But you cannot continuously let your opponent start at the 40, the 41, the 40. Like this team is not, it goes back to what we talked about a lot last week, Aaron. This team is not good enough to overcome those things consistently, because eventually the dam is going to break. Like, they are not so talent. Like, there's not such an abundance of talent that those things don't matter. You're even with everybody that you're playing, or you're maybe still a tiny bit below. Like, you're on that same line with everybody that you play in this league. And that's great that in 1 year they were able to get the talent to that point. But in reality, it doesn't matter if you continue to do things like lose field position, turn the ball over on a drive that their first half was bad, and it was 10-10.
114 yards total offense.
114 yards in the first half. It was 10-10. That should have been 7, 10, at least a 3 or a 4-point lead, but it should have been a lead. Well, Iowa State should have kicked that field goal to make it 14-10 or whatever.
Yeah, the hidden yardage was given at the end of the first half. We saw that, and that was 3 points. And then you, in the second half, when you give up the fake, that's 3 more points that they tack on. So there's 6 points before the game got away from them at the end.
And Aaron, let's be honest, that fake was easy for them.
Yeah, it was effortless.
It was easy for them. There was nobody. I mean, it was the perfect. That's I know this from being around Brian Mason a lot. Like, a lot of those calls are dictated. Almost all of those calls are dictated based on your look. So the special teams coordinator, theoretically, goes through all the scenarios of like what your coverages look like, and they pick things out. And they say, if we see this, automatically the snap goes to the up back. That's what caused the shenanigans after ECU. Remember that? What, 2020, 2020, whatever it was, where they were up big and they ran the fake punt.
Yeah.
Joel DeBlanco ran the fake punt. That was, they had practiced it. They saw the look. Joel DeBlanco is a robot. His programming said, if I see this look, I call fake punt snap to me. Beep, pop, boop, pop, pop. And that's what, so that was something that they had seen in UC's punt coverage, that the minute that they saw it, the guy that ended up running it is the one that will signal, snap it to me. I see what we worked on in practice this week. They read you like a book. They read you like a book. And that was a massive play in that situation. Massive. Yeah. What else you got? Anything? Yeah, I mean, I don't even, I'm afraid of the brunch tomorrow.
So am I. I know personally that neither of them are happy at all.
Well, and Dave also watched his team's playoff chances probably disintegrate with Georgia beating Tennessee.
He may or may not have tied one on tonight as well. So there's that.
May or may not. May have tied one. So the brunch, if you're, look, we are generally, Aaron occasionally goes off on a rant, but it's usually like a sidebar, like the TV crew in the Colorado game. It's usually not anything super game specific. They're probably going to be on one tomorrow morning. Although Dave might be too hungover to really get angry.
I'm just curious who the voice of reason between the two of them is going to be. The voice of reason may have flew the cuckoo's nest at this point.
Again, I'm going to say this until it's true or until it's not true. They're not good enough to be this sloppy. And maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you won't, I don't know. But one of the biggest problems with what we've seen is that they're not consistently sloppy in any area. Like, for a long time this season, they were dominating field position. Like, special teams was really good. The gunners were down there. Guys were fair catching. There were no returns. Teams were starting at the 15 and the 10. They were having to go long distances. Like, and then all of a sudden, now it's a major problem. Like, the defense was dreadful for a long time. Now the defense is playing better, but the offense has fallen off the face of the earth. Like, there's not any one thing that you can look at this and say, get that fixed. Get that fixed and we'll be okay. Instead, every Saturday, Aaron, the game starts and we wonder, what are they going to fuck up this week? Like, what is going to be the thing that throws a monkey wrench in an otherwise, like, positive performance? I don't think they played bad against West Virginia. They just, again, they didn't shoot themselves in the foot. They shot themselves in, like, the shoulder and the knee. Like, they did it again tonight. They did it again tonight. Mistakes that you can't make in different aspects week to week are coming up big while the other team makes a winning play. Rocco Beck jumping up, knocking that ball out of the air, right straight back down to him. He runs it into the end zone. If you hold him to a field goal, you got a chance to go down and score a touchdown and win. But they don't. And then 4th and 2, Abu Sama, who hadn't done anything all day, and now you lose by 17. And I look good because I thought it was going to be a 2-score, 3-score loss. Turnovers are, but they only had 1 turnover tonight, Steve. Turnovers may be the biggest negative in the past 2 weeks. They only had 1 tonight.
Came at a pretty key time, though. The
Sure
timing
it did,
of it,
but that's atrocious.
Like, sure,
you can overcome that.
Yeah, but
they were down 3 in the 4th quarter. They were in position to overcome it, Aaron. Now, could they maybe have been up 4 or tied if they didn't fumble? Yes, but little mistakes are going to happen. You can't false start 5 times in a game.
Well, I mean, if you're playing that game, could they have been up, 7 if they hadn't given up the 3 at the end of the first half? If we played decent special teams,
if they don't punt 18 yards to the fucking UC 40, they were at the 20. They punted, and Iowa State took over at the 38 in field goal range, like 2 yards from field goal range. They needed 2 yards to kick a field goal. Yeah, but my point is you can what if yourself to death on some of that stuff. The special teams was atrocious. Atrocious.
Forgot to put our banner up. There it is.
That's okay. The special teams was atrocious. The penalties, the stuff that just, and the face mask, after the fumble, I'm convinced they just called it on the wrong team because there was no indication of a UC player having anybody by the face mask, and there were twice an Iowa State player had a white. The UC guys had on white face masks. White. Iowa State was in a blackout. They were in all black. UC was in white. 2 guys with white face masks have a hand like this, and the penalty's on UC. Whatever. We can give it up to Sat for not getting cute on 4th down tonight. Good play and well executed. Good job, Sat. Gold star. Start giving gold stars and putting them on the wall, like the wall.
There's not many. There's not many to give.
I know.
There'd be like 2.
Fletcher was intentionally kicking it short, hoping for another tackle to have a shot at winning a truck.
That's funny.
It's a good one. You got anything else, brother?
No, I was done about 10 minutes ago.
I was too. I just had some more stuff to rant about. I also had a glass of Weller, so I'm sweating after this glass of Weller and being under this light. There will be stars. All right. You can't challenge a personal foul. Anyway, that's the aftermath. Love you guys. Come bug Dave and Jeff tomorrow morning, 9:30 for the Bearcat brunch. We'll see you then.
If nothing else.
Yeah, it should be entertaining. This is brought to you by Cincy Light. Thanks to our good friends at Mio's. We'll see you next time. Tuesday night, Bearcats and NKU. Aftermath. Right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!